What does Thresh do when he falls behind, Mickey?
He plays Lantern. You think Lantern is a weak spell, Drakos?
No, I think Lantern's a great spell. I just think that, like, I don't know, Nautilus Assault seems like a pretty good spell.
It was one of my weakest years of actually playing the game, and I do have to reflect myself on that. All right, Fnatic and PDS. Good luck. You will need it.
Oh my god. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 11 of the EUphoria podcast. As always, we're available on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Today we had Mikyx and BrokenBlade come in to talk all things upcoming in the LEC this weekend, give us a sneak peek at MSI, and talk about some of the shenanigans they brought with their all cheeky lane swaps.
A lot of sports ball, a lot of lane swap talk. It's a chaotic episode, I'm not going to lie, and it starts now. Welcome, gentlemen. Finals weekend around the corner. We're all grinning because we just had the most awkward side conversation for much longer than we should have before we started the podcast. But it's good to have you both here on what is, I'm sure, a pretty weird scrim week. But before we get into League of Legends, we have to talk about the things that really matter. And it's not Berserker Elden Ring, but it should be. Instead, I need to know what happened yesterday. You guys played a sports ball tournament? Spikeball. You can see that I'm very knowledgeable and hip with the kids. Sports ball.
You just went with
tournament.
the one thing that people say when they don't understand anything to do with sports. It's sports ball.
Sports ball. You sports ball. What the hell is Spikeball? Is this like a regular G2 thing? Because normally, when I think of what you guys do on your day off, I assume it's like something like G-Gen, order a ton of food and binge watch an entire anime, not go outside and do a little sports tournament.
Yeah, well, we don't do it on off days. So. We usually play Spikeball on match days, and we usually just play it between players and Duff, and we play 3v3, and basically you just smash the ball into the net, and it has to bounce, and then you have to pass it to your teammates. You have to 3 touches, basically like volleyball, I guess, and you have to pass it to the enemy team, and yeah, that's kind of Spikeball.
Who won?
Not me.
Also not me. I lost
Guys,
every round.
What's happening here? What is? Is there a gap in the G2 house for Spikeball proficiency?
Well,
Okay, I have to say the teams were a bit unfair. Not that it, it was randomized, so that was fair. But Duffman and Isma, they both been playing before and they got to the finals, which makes sense. And obviously all players are playing as well.
Yeah.
So we know how to play. Obviously, I don't actually think there's a big gap in the players' skill. At least I think so.
It's a coaching staff problem,
Hans,
really.
Hans for sure has the best serve. He's a crazy server, right? Yeah. He has really hard serves that are hard to catch. But I think other than that, we are very similar. We do similar amount of mistakes. Sometimes Mickey's serves are a bit off. Yeah. But
so since the patch notes.
Yeah.
Patch notes dropped.
The
So we
updates
actually, a lot of times we just change rules
Yeah.
because a lot of times it was the ball is too high, so we made an overhead rule so it can't go over your head. And then that got patched out. Or if you can have 2 serves now instead of just 1. If you pick up 1, you have 1 more try. So yeah. And then you need to stand 2 meters away before we were just melee range of the net, so it was very easy to do it. But yeah, some people got nerfed.
The way that you so casually work in gamer speak into just a normal sentence, the patch notes overhead a little too upbeat, people are in melee range of the net. Also, I love how the first half of your sentence, BB, it was kind of whatever, and then I instantly hear you lock into the same tone and mannerism using in an interview. You're I want to be clear, everybody. There are equal chances, equal opportunities. Sports ball, Spikeball. I can see the shift in an instant where you're I don't want to flame any of my teammates. I want to make sure I represent everybody fairly, and you go serious mode.
But just wants people to know that it's his team that's holding him back from going pro in Spikeball.
Yeah, it's a coaching staff.
I do think it's very competitive. It can get very competitive. And we play as 2, usually play as 3.
Yeah.
And if you play as 3, you don't have to run as much because it's just more teammates that can catch the ball.
If they want to.
If they want to. Sometimes they're stuck in quicksand and they just look at the ball. Yeah. But when you play as 2, you need to run a lot more. Same with volleyball, kind of.
Yeah.
Beach volleyball, there's only 2. Usually
I've seen that in Top Gun. I think once maybe. I've never played beach volleyball. I do know. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets really fun. Especially when we play on game days. Sometimes we have really crazy rounds, and then we do some crazy stuff as well, where you do overhead, where you don't even see the net, and then it still goes over. and we have to keep playing. That's when people have the most quicksand because they're like, oh, the ball is just that.
True.
Is it just nice to have just like another competitive activity that you guys do together that isn't League of Legends? That's just like in amongst the team.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah,
We also play ping pong.
yeah, we had some ping pong at some point as well.
Like we play a round table, and then when someone like dies, like not literally, but when someone dies, he has to do a physical activity to get back into the game.
Okay.
So everyone runs other than me because I have like very flat feet. So I have to do push-ups or squats.
Okay.
I have to do 10 push-ups or 10 squats to get back into the game. And if you don't get back into the game while there's 2 people left, then that's the final. That's the other competitive game we have.
Damn. They have gotten you into a lot of physical activity.
Yeah.
True.
Like when did I think for like esports, physical activity hasn't always necessarily been there. Some people have probably sought it out on their own. There've always been gym heads as long as like esports has been a thing. Is it for both of you just G2 where there's like so much physical activity and like the things that you do together?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to say that I'm very thankful for that. I could, especially this year, I could feel how much better I feel, like in the fitness level.
Mm.
I also started to bike every day to the office. And in the beginning, I was like getting really like out of breath. And now I'm like chill, like I can do it very easily. So I feel very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, because I just think back on the days where it was like, and like I was there too, right? Like single guy in Berlin, you guys gamer house in Berlin, or I guess briefly in North America, it was just like order Deliveroo, play games, repeat.
Wake up 1 hour before scrims or less.
Yeah,
That's about it. Now I have to wake up a bit earlier than that.
Do you find it helps? Do you find it like makes
does it affect you? Yeah, does it affect you in game?
Not for me.
I mean, I think it probably does in a way. Like I feel more, just ready for the day. I don't feel like I'm tired randomly. At some point your body would just hurt randomly as well because either you would sit for too long or you would like just not move.
Yeah.
And then if you would move, then it would hurt. But now I don't have that feeling anymore. So basically, I just feel very great most of the time. And yeah, it's like we even had like exercise last year, but last year it wasn't as do hard.
This try hard do hard thing is so. If you didn't watch PGL, the do hard thing is so.
We don't like that word.
We don't like trying.
Yeah, we don't like, you just do it.
Yeah, Romain made us forget the word try. We only do. So, but they don't like the word do hard. They think it sounds weird.
I can just see the stupid TikToks of like screenshots of you guys in the screaming room in black and white with like the funk music playing in the background, being with like some caption at the top, like follow for more clips on the do hard mindset. Like it just sounds like some Instagram pyramid scheme. But I respect it. Obviously you just want to make stuff happen. I get the attitude behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm gonna give full credit to Romain on this. He's really, whenever someone is saying try, he says don't try, do it. And as weird as it sounds, it obviously does help when you think about it.
Yeah. Because
when you really think you're going to do something or try, it's 2 different things, right?
Yeah.
Because trying makes you think there's a possibility to fail or not make it happen. But even if you say, oh, I'm going to do it, there's a higher chance you're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
I'm not going to pretend that I have any deep understanding of human neurology or psychology, but it makes sense to me.
I think there is a lot of sports psychology to back it up, at least. Where it's like, even if you visualize that you're going to achieve the thing, it makes it easier to do the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I started changing also like the way I think about like stage matches and like absolutes, like, I am going to win against this guy, or I am going to mess him up, in a way of like
mess him up.
Yeah, I mean, I use harder words in my mind, but like it's like a self-talk thing where also Isma for us, I think Hans was using it a lot before. I started using it a lot this year. There was one specific moment back in MSI. Was it MSI? Where I got really sick. And then I had to tell myself, oh, it's going to be fine. I'm gonna save my energy. And then actually that day I played pretty well.
Darius game.
Yeah, I think it was a Darius game against Brazil, against Loud, where I was really sick, but I did everything in my power to, tell myself, oh, it's gonna be fine, save your energy, and then on stage, like obviously adrenaline helps there, but the do hard mindset, it just is different. But you also have to believe in it. Like if you just say it, it's different, or if you believe in it, it's different.
I feel you. Yeah, okay. So you have to full commit. You can't be wishy-washy about it. You can't just say it and then in the back of your head be like, oh my God, I'm going to fail. You have to fully, you can't let any other thought into your head. Mickey, is that what you say when you queue up for solo queue? When you're like, oh, I got your solo queue here, like 212? You're like, I'm going to die 12 times in this game. Nobody's going to stop me.
I will do it. Pretty much.
So we come into finals weekend. G2, you guys remain the clear favorites, albeit how you got to the finals was maybe a bit unexpected with the lane swaps. We'll have the lane swap shortly. But what do you actually do to prepare for this weekend? You've been here before. This like whole top 3 thing I feel like is a little bit awkward because there's 2 potential teams you could play. The theoretical advantage is that you get to watch them play the day before. They leave everything on the table. All their super secret strats that they're going to bust out in this last week of prep. But what is it actually like for you guys kind of waiting in the finals to see who you're going to play? How is it different from a normal prep week?
It's very interesting because it is the final week. You have to practice the picks you want to play, but also you kind of don't want to always give too much away, right? And every team nowadays has that thought in mind. The advantage of the winning team or the team that plays on Sunday is that you're not as pressured to show stuff, whereas in the team that is like, oh, they have to fight for their lives to even make it there, have to show whatever they want, or what they have to play. And then it also just comes to scheduling. Who has better scheduling, right? So sometimes we play good ERL teams. I think this week we have to play those. Even today, I think we're playing a team from ERLs. But the further you go in the tournament, the less teams you have to scrim. Yeah. So
this is kind of cursed. I mean, you've been in this situation before many times, Mickey. I know because one of the week before the infamous World Finals in 2019, I heard was like the worst week of practice ever because there's no one to practice. And I think it's a similar situation in OAC where like, even if, let's say, teams made a deal ahead of time, like let's say Vitality made a deal to stick around, like you can't force your players' hearts to be in that, right? If they've just been eliminated. Is this last week of practice like ever good? Has it ever been super good for you or super fruitful for you guys? Or is it kind of just like, okay, going through the motions?
Nah, usually just kind of use it to practice specific champions that you were talking about or specific strategies.
Okay, strategies. I wonder what it could be.
But yeah, I mean, the quality is definitely not the highest, but it's fine. You have to make do.
Gotta do what's best for you. Or make everything. And basically, it's every team has this disadvantage, every team has this disadvantage that is in this tournament.
Yeah.
But I do think we usually make the best out of it with like even solo, like we have like when we don't have scrims, we have like a designated solo queue time where like, oh, just because we don't have scrims doesn't mean we can just chill now. Like yesterday, for example, we couldn't find scrims, but then we're like, oh, we have a good schedule. We do extra work, like team reviews of specific games to even like think about the game a little bit in like a team perspective. So I really like that. So I think it's not necessarily worse. It's a different way of practicing. Like we're not scrimming, but we're thinking about the game as a team. So it was definitely worse last year's where we didn't have this schedule.
I can understand that.
And what does it like Saturday look like for you guys? Is it sit down and then try and scrim all day? Or is it like, hey, we're going to sit down as a group, watch the games, analyze them, try and pick apart what our opponents are doing? Or
usually we still play a bit of scrims before the series starts. And then we go watch the series most of the time, I think.
Yeah.
But it depends.
We usually try to make the scrims end right when the first game starts.
Okay. I mean, I like the adaptation and schedule, and it's cool to hear that you guys are actually like watching that match and focusing on it and bringing it down. It'd be kind of surprising if you didn't, given that it's just free information on the next day's opponent. This previous weekend, though, we'll kind of come back to G2 as we look ahead towards MSI. Vitality versus Fnatic, final best of 5 of the weekend. I came into it very optimistic about Vitality, I will say, and it ended up being, well, a very bloody and very wild series. Like, what was your guys' impression? Is this one of those series that you guys watched from home? I was not sure when you guys took an off day this week. Did you guys watch this one closely? What were your initial thoughts?
I mean, the first initial thought was that game 1 draft was completely wild. I don't know what happened there, but somehow we had the Diana mid, and Hylissang was playing Rumble support and won in it. That was impressive. But anything else that was weird? I feel like that was something else. But anyway, yeah, that game was completely wild, and Vitality won that. But then I think after Fnatic actually started drafting normally, they kind of won pretty convincingly. I mean, of course, Vitality games are always like a bit back and forth. Like they might just randomly win like one fight and then almost end, but then the next fight they just lose, and then I don't know. Like all their best of 5s or best of series, which like so weird. I feel like the Mad Lions one, they should never won.
Yeah,
at least the game 1. And then the BDS one, they should have never lost, but they lost. So like, I don't know. It's just so random. It just flip a coin. So yeah, I guess. I mean, Fnatic did look better though overall. So yeah,
that game 4 was bonkers.
Actually, yeah.
The amount
they get solo kill top, they get solo kill bot, and then just won anyway. Nice.
And I was like, oh, you can like back off. You're going to be chilling. And they're like, no, we're going to go for it. The game completely throws. Then you've got people hiding in bushes trying to catch it. It was just insane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like one of the weirdest. It was a fun series to cast because it was just so chaotic, but it was really hard in the moment to get any like meaningful takeaways other than I felt like Fnatic were drafting better towards the back half. How do you guys, I know neither of you are mid laner, how do you guys feel about obviously it's like Azir, and then if you're not going to ban Azir, things that are good into Azir. You guys have shown the Aurelion Sol, Vitality didn't pull it out, but as we head into this weekend, I imagine that mid lane meta is going to be a lot of the same. Azir, things that are good into Azir. Seems like Aurelion Sol is the preferred option. There are some people who are willing to bust out these melee counter picks. We saw it from Jackie's. We've seen it. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on melee options into Azir? Generally. Sorry, I'm aware that this is dangerous territory. I'm really curious, but I also obviously don't want to give away the... Yeah, give me the PR answer. Give me what you can give me without leaking. He's crafting.
I like the way you just push that onto him. It's like, if anyone's going to get in trouble, it's not me. It's
BB's, I don't know if BB's doing interview training, but you can tell. The man's like doing crowd work mid-interview half the time. He's like, what did you guys at home think?
I mean, I think it is a lot of player preference, right? Like, for example, if you look at Jackie's, he likes Yone. You can tell he likes Yone. Vito always liked Akali. He always liked Silas, right? Like these champions. And yeah, if they think that this is their best way of winning, they will pick it. I hope it is right. what they think. Like, but I do think, for example, as well, that teams started figuring out, you can just go grasp on Azir now if they have a lot of melee champions that go on you, and now you're suddenly so much tankier, which I think is actually very smart. Like, I think you shouldn't build the tank Azir every single game, but if it makes sense, then it's actually very good. Where I think, against Azir, I mean, this champ, I don't know, this champ is, for every top laner, this champ is like just so OP, because he wins against every champ on side lane. He just hits you from like 1,000 range, and if you ever reach him, he will just ult you back and hit you again. And if you then reach him again, he will just EQ out. So it's like,
or make a tower, and then you're probably losing the all-in.
So for me, it's like, I hope my teammates can kill this champ, because most of the time I can't.
I got it.
But obviously not a fixed mindset. I will do my best to kill him.
All right. Because BB hit us with the all-time classic insightful line of, if your mid laner likes this option, they'll pick this option, giving us nothing, which I respect. Rob, how do you feel about this? Like, based on what we saw, we've seen some, because Mickey's not going to say anything different. He deferred to BB on this one, so like, you give me your outside perspective. You're not playing this weekend, so
I can get the idea with it. I'm going to look at the Diana, because that was kind of the most recent one, which is, Ahri can't really push us out of lane, which is why we used to see like Silas and stuff as a counter to her, and then she can do well. I just didn't like it when it's, hey, we have this pushing bot lane that we want to be able to help, and we have 0 mid priority, and we don't really have a good jungle matchup either, so they just get to play around bot side and absolutely roast us every time. So
I mean, that first game, Mickey talked about it, right? That first game draft was a bit of a doozy, and then they kept fighting when they were clearly behind. So yeah, game one. If game 1 Fnatic shows up this weekend, Fnatic,
but
definitely in trouble.
I definitely think it has its place, and I think it's nice to see, because I think Ahri's kind of just come out as this wonder pick for a lot of people, where it's just like, hey, we're going to take it. It's got decent push, but you can actually do things into it. And I think it's good to see answers in the melee style, because you don't get a huge amount of value in Ahri as, hey, I can actually push you out of lane and put you massively behind. So you can kind of play for this big mid-game spike.
But specifically when it comes to the Aurelion Sol, or sorry, the Azir, are you on the like Aurelion Sol match scaling control mage hype train, or are you on the like try to break it with melee picks hype train?
I like the ASOL. I think it does well. Like you get good push and kind of do all right into it. But I think I was having this conversation with Finn. It feels weird when you think about it conceptually, where it's like, why do we not just wait till 6, go in, scoop with the jungler there and immediately kill the ASOL, right? Why isn't this a thing that we just do all the time? Because we never really see it, where a jungler just plays for the Azir as soon as you hit 6 and kill the ASOL. So I don't know why that isn't a thing, because it feels very theoretically sound. But yeah, I can definitely see like in time, people are just like, no, we just kill ASOL and then he just becomes an issue. Or he just isn't an issue anymore. So maybe you do end up just going for some other kind of pick or just getting rid of it. But at least the moment, Aurelion Sol seems to be good. But I can see some value to the melee mids. It's just, it feels like it just warps so much of your draft, because, well, now we have to try and play 1-3-1. We're not really getting ahead. It's kind of looking a bit awkward. So yeah, maybe, but it feels like you have to play into heavy skirmishes early to try and get a lead for it.
Do you feel like melee mids mess up a draft? Do you feel like it's just easier to draft around like control mages? Just one less
the thing
crazy
about melee
variable.
mids is you need to, if you have melee mids, you need to have help.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if your wave is ever frozen and you play melee mid, you can't hit the wave. And I think has been the issue of melee mids, just because the jungler and support are around mid a lot more often than like bot or top lane, just because of how close the camps are to the mid lane. So yeah, if your wave is in a bad spot, you will need help, and that just puts a lot of pressure as well to any team. So I think that's why also a lot of teams prefer the scaling option into Azir, because I think Azir has like one play that is, if you don't have flash, he will ult you.
Yeah.
So that's very like one-dimensional play they have. So and also nowadays Azir is not a new champ anymore. People know that's gonna happen, so people can also cover that play. And yeah, I think that's why people are going for the scaling sides instead of the melee fighting side. Because historically Azir has always been a champ that is like fairly safe. Again, like if you gank him, he can EQ out, he can ult you away. So
I mean, it just makes sense. Like Azir in general is obnoxious, but I just feel like right now Aurelion Sol just looks numbers wise completely busto. Again, I don't want to give away too much on the draft priority side, but this champion. Why was the eye roll? Who would have thought? Who presented Aurelion Sol first to the group?
I can check what date it was exactly, but I did tell my mid laner that champ looks unfair, but he refused to pick it until someone else picked it.
Yeah, the champ definitely is very fair that he gets a reset. 5k range fly.
Actually, we were talking about yesterday. It's not fair that he gets a reset.
Yeah. Okay, he should get one reset maybe.
No.
2.
He should not get a reset, but he should like choose a good path to take, like to fly. And if he gets a kill, nothing changes, because he needs to take a good path to get as many kills as possible. But maybe you can lower the cooldown then, or something like this. But like resets, it's like too much.
Yeah, I think, okay, at least make it like, 5 seconds cooldown. So it doesn't insta-fly at you after he kills you.
That's true.
You don't like it when he's like super far ahead and you're losing a team fight and he just one-shots the front line or finishes out the front line and then immediately is on the back line and there's
like,
nothing they can do. If they stop, they die. If they keep running, they die.
What I don't understand, I get he gets his ult bigger and he has a bigger spike. It's like, oh guys, careful his big ulti. But the ulti is like half of the map.
It's insane.
I don't know why. Okay, the thing is, the range of the initial like slam of the ult is already so big. It's like the whole river almost in late game. And then on top of that, it deals like 200 extra damage
And slows.
and slows. I think it gives vision. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it does give vision as well.
Plus,
Mickey you can tell Mickey was hard trying to get Rasmus to play this pick. He's like, I made the presentation. I got the notes.
and also now, he just needs an assist to get a reset. So if he drops the ult, there's no way he won't hit every single player on the
Get
team.
something.
Yeah.
He will always get a reset. If one person dies, just run you down.
Yeah.
I think that the slow, like, it's so funny to me. I've seen so many fights where it's like, even if you whiff the big ult, right? it's like the slow is big enough that if like they're not playing an AD carry with a dash, they just die because they just get slowed and they die.
I felt bad for the support Ashe that had to play against this in our game. Like Labrov was just like running away, but then he just see like a dragon and like a meteor dropping on his head. I guess I throw my W in that.
Yeah, it actually seems so unplayable late game for so many champions. You just can't. What are you going to do against a slow and a champion who can immediately, with anyone else, even if the Aurelion Sol isn't a problem, that slow is already so annoying. I think this is hands down the most broken champion right now. Is it Smolder level of broken though? Week 1? Yeah. Probably not, right?
Probably not.
But did Smolder get
some hard counters like Katarina? But people are not ready for the Katarina yet.
People are not ready for the Katarina.
Katarina into ASOL?
Yeah.
That is not a hard counter.
No.
Okay, counters to ASOL are CC champions. Okay. You need to be able to stop his W, his Q. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
CC champions.
CC
all right,
champions.
so not Katarina. We're a little divided in the G2
Apparently
camp.
Apparently
Chaos
not.
in the G2 camp. Disagreements left and right.
Someone didn't do his ASOL research.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, we reverted some of the nerfs to Smolder now, if you would be, like, let's say you kept the ulti cooldown, but you, like, reverted some of the damage nerfs or whatever, the stack nerfs, if you would still be OP. Because it feels like, even looking back now at the split, like, even when he was still strong post-hotfix before the bigger set of nerfs, like, even you guys experienced it, right? Teams just got better at just diving the Smolder and just obliterating the Smolder.
Yeah. But then again, you're also, like, on a big timer. And even those games, it was, like, us kind of losing it or giving it a good opportunity to do it. Because if you survive it, you just auto win the game at like 20 minutes when you get the Elder or whatever, whenever you get it.
Yeah.
It's just like a bit strong, yeah.
Well, now
I was ready to bust it out top lane, but my team didn't want me to play.
To be fair, the one game we saw on stage from Photon, it
looks strong.
Didn't do a lot. Yeah. To be fair, it didn't do nothing. I mean, it just sat there and lane against Volibear. Yeah. We thought it was going to be more exciting, and then their bot lane lost to Kalista.
I was going to say, the
like
rest of 10 minutes.
I was going to say, like, it's kind of a bad sample size, to be honest, for the top lane Smolder. Well, I'm glad Smolder's gone. Aurelion Sol seems like the most obnoxious champion to play against. That's how I feel watching it. It's still fun to watch dragons. For now.
I like dragons are too strong.
The dragons are too strong. In this game as well. We're talking about this. The Shyvana rework comes out. She's like, infinite scaling is now the sub theme for dragons. That's all I'm saying. They have to keep it going in the Shyvana rework. Yeah. This is how they.
When is it rework?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
It was just on, it was like on the list with like Nocturne and Udyr and Fiddlesticks.
I hope they make it top lane. Sure.
Yeah. According to Goldberg, it is, man. You don't want to play Triforce.
I talked to him about it. I don't know why he wants to play Shyvana top lane, but
Hullbreaker, Trinity Force. You too can manifest dying 12 times in a game.
I tried playing Shyvana top lane. That was back in 2019 when we played against G2. I was in TSM. And they would just play Shyvana top lane with Spear Shojin.
It was so
every game.
Wait, that's the Shyvana.
The Shyvana, yeah. That's the one.
And then I was like, I remember I was scrimming against G2. I was playing Aatrox and he picked Shyvana and he solo kills me at level 6. And I'm like, why am I solo kill against Shyvana top lane? This must be OP. And then there was actually a time where people actually played it on stage. It's like, I don't know how you make it.
Wait, that was like the Spear of Shojin, was it Leandries or whatever build that was really stupid? Because you just want Spear of Shojin just to reset your E cooldown in Dragon form, right?
I mean, basically, you just like go ult and then you just like auto Q and you're basically you E and auto Q and then your E's up again. So you just like perma spam it. And like so OP.
That was the only time Shyvana top lane was actually like in the recent times, right?
Need to bring it back.
Goldberg's sad in his little master tier corner. His little 150 LP or whatever he's at right now. He's like, it is good, I swear. Just ignore the laning phase. I'm split pushing forever. He's not here to defend himself. Well, he can make his own argument when he gets the opportunity. So yeah, the meta's an interesting spot. But after the 2 series this weekend, we now have Fnatic BDS coming up. I don't think either of these teams are going to lane swap. I think they'll probably save that experience for when one of them plays in the finals against you. But I'm curious how you feel about this series overall. Because despite the fact that BDS got a little bit bamboozled and a lot of those games did look a little bit lost on the map, the Vitality series didn't give me a lot of faith in Fnatic. I don't know what your guys' read was, having played BDS. Do you feel like this is a BDS favored matchup? Do you feel like it's Fnatic favored?
I mean, I think it's a bit of a 50-50 because then again, the Vitality BDS series also didn't look that promising for BDS. So maybe just Vitality.
maybe just playing against Vitality makes it hard to say.
So like, I don't know. I think usually when you play Fnatic, the games are a bit more difficult, but also for us it's better because it makes us do hard a bit more, especially Rasmus. I remember in the game we played against Fnatic where he got solo killed with Aesol versus Orianna.
Yeah.
Then he was like, I come mid and we kill him, and then he's like, nice! I've never heard him like screaming like a normal like regular. I mean, I guess it's not a regular season, but still, like against anyone else, it would be just like, nice, good job. But then against Fnatic, he was like very hyped. So yeah.
Is it the rivalry? Is it just that he used to play for Fnatic?
I guess so. Yeah, it's just more hype.
It's just more hype for him. He plays into it. That's good to know. Actually, I love that. Get in the head.
So, yeah, I mean, I hope Fnatic makes it, and I think most of the time they're playing better as well. Like at least like jungle, mid. I think top lane is struggling a little bit. Maybe you can tell us more about that.
Yeah.
I can,
yeah. How do you feel about Oscar versus Adam?
How I feel about this?
Yeah, how you feel
Good
about
question.
That's a great, thank you. I like that classic. This is an interview
So,
strategy. He's
it's
buying
also-
time.
no,
He's
no,
buying
the
time.
siddle. It's the.
No,
Sorry,
I think
get
it's.
into position for this.
I think
Ladies
it's
and gentlemen,
very.
thank you all for being here today. Presidential address from President BrokenBlade.
I think it's very. I think that's a very interesting matchup because I think that Oscarinin has been set on certain amount of champions. He's playing like 3 champions right now that are like he's playing Xante,
Zach, and
Rek'Sai. Whereas in Adam is just not touching those champions right now, right?
Yeah.
And Adam has been playing. It's very interesting the change of champions Adam has been playing. He's playing more Gragas. He's playing more Rumble. If you look at his solo queue, he's been spamming Rumble. Obviously, it looks like he wants to change the way he plays or drafts different champions, which I think is something that should have come sooner from him. I like that he has been going out of his comfort zone to learn new champions.
Yeah.
And it will just depend on how well he will play those champions on stage. And the scary part now is that if Oscarinin only plays tanks, Adam has been known to counter those champions very well.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how they are going to deal with that, because Fnatic right now is obviously having a very standard front to back team comp most of the time, unless you look at the Diana game, right? Which obviously didn't work for them. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. We the kind of did lane swap, so laning didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
As much. So I'm very curious to see how Fnatic's going to deal with it, because I think if you don't respect Adam as a player, especially on blue side, it might backfire, you know. But we will see how willing he is to punish those champions and what he has ready.
When we talk about the Zach, obviously you guys were the first team, I think, for us to bust it out, right? And I think one of the counter picks that started showing up and started being kind of preemptively banned to ensure that people could get Zach was something like the Darius, because we saw a couple games where the Darius just took over. Like, is that still good? Because I was kind of surprised when Zach was popular again that we didn't see the Darius as much. Is it changes in other lanes that have stopped that? Have people learned more about the Zach matchup? Like, what actually stopped that answer from coming through?
So it's very interesting you bring this up, because I was playing this matchup in 1v1s, and I was like, wait, Zach actually just wins, you know? Like, that was before Zach got nerfed the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Now Zach is weak before... Okay, Zach is weak before level 9 and before he gets Sunfire. Like, he's weaker, at least.
Yeah.
And in matchups where you would have to fight a lot, like, for example, every matchup that, like in solo queue, especially when people go Ignite, it's tough, you know. It's like you're fighting for your life, you know. Like, every blob, you need every blob, or you're gonna suffer. And now the Darius matchup, I could really see being very hard early game. But when Zach gets Sunfire, when he's like somewhat even, I think he wins a lot of matchups. Like, it's just very hard shifts. And yeah, the Darius matchup is something that I'm unsure of as of right now. But I don't know how many people are even blind picking Zach at this very moment.
Yeah.
I don't remember if Fnatic even blind picked it. Maybe he picked
did
it twice, I think, last series.
Yeah, because Photon tried the Jace
He-
into it, and I want to say that was his counter, and it didn't.
And then he got it the Renection in the last game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Jace, it makes sense. It's very hard early for Zach. And we played that matchup even against Vitality. And when something goes very bad, like we 2v2 top lane, we both died, then it's very hard for Zach. But if that didn't happen and Zach can just keep jumping on the Jace, then it will feel much easier. And Zach is a very interesting champion. It's not an easy champion because you do need to fight a lot. You do need to use your passive because you want to trade HP. It's similar to Rek'Sai. It's very similar to Rek'Sai. And like if people played against Warwick top lane, it's also very similar. Where like you just want to fight. You just want to right click on the enemy and trade HP. If you play against someone who has no sustain, you will just win because you will just trade your HP and then just get your HP back, right? And it's very like brain dead.
You just said it's really hard, and then in the same sentence you said it's very brain dead.
To play against it. To play against it.
Oh, like to play against it is really hard. Yeah. Okay.
Because if you okay, so some people also like a top lane is just a very weird lane where if you get lazy, you're gonna lose very hard, especially like against champions. Like also, a lot of people probably played against Fiora. If you're lazy about the vitals, like you don't go out of his range to change the vital, you're gonna lose very hard.
Yeah,
and it's the same with Zach. If you don't play for his blobs, like you don't go on his blobs, and he just gets like 3 blobs for free. At some point, he will just out-sustain you or like trade you again with W, and then now you can't walk up to the blobs because now he has too much HP. And it's the same with Rek'Sai. If Rek'Sai, the way you want to play against Rek'Sai is you don't want to hard push every wave. You want to stack waves so he doesn't get to stack his passive for free. And I think a lot of top laners actually don't know how to play against Rek'Sai very well. I think, for example, that Photon, he played very well that matchup when I played against him. So I was like, oh, he actually knows some stuff. But yeah, I think it's very interesting to play against different kinds of top laners. Like, for example, Oscarinin played a lot of things to split. So I'm like, oh, these matchups are easier to play than playing versus like a Darius or playing versus like a Jace who goes Conqueror, level 1, and they ward the lane bush level 1, and I'm just like sweating every minion to get like HP back. So top lane is definitely a crazy experience sometimes, especially when you play like Rek'Sai. Twisted Fate is also one of those. If you play Twisted Fate against Varus top lane, suddenly you're like sweating. Oh, I need ganks, guys. Come on.
So when you think about like all these tank champions are obviously really hard to deal with, and you brought up kind of that Adam is into this different champion pool. When you think about this lane matchup on paper, like are you favoring one side heavily or the other? Because I feel like what Oscar's playing right now is like those champions seem really good and really hard to deal with. It feels like Adam is the one who has to outplay. It seems like if both players come in and we assume even level or no nameplates, we just look at a lot of those matchups. It's just way easier to be the Zac. It's way easier to be a Rek'Sai in a lot of those matchups.
Yeah, it is. It is always easier to be the tank because you're less punished by being behind because you have the CC, right? So obviously the guy who counterpicks those tanks is under pressure of like actually carrying the game. And the thing is that Adam has been carrying those games. If he has a good scenario, if he has a good Olaf case, he usually carries. If he has a good Darius case, we have seen countless times carrying those games. And I think if you play against him, it's important to not give him those scenarios because I think that's where he shines the brightest as a player. Whereas if you give him a scenario where you play a meta champ versus meta champ, usually he doesn't do much better than the enemy.
Yeah.
Whereas that's what he's trying to practice right now, I think. Which I also respect because I think that was his weakness, at least in the past. So that he is willing to, go the extra step and like go out of his comfort zone to practice those jumps heavily in solo queue shows that he wants to change, which I respect as a top laner, as a player. Seeing that is obviously always nice. It's always easy to be going back to your comfort. But he isn't, so I respect that. But right now, I would favor that matchup to Adam, I would say.
You favor it to Adam? Do you favor the overall matchup to BDS or just that single matchup in isolation?
I favor it to Fnatic. I think they play much better as a team. They're much more explosive. I think BDS is like the boring team that usually does a lot of similar things, but they do it well. Yeah. I think they played better than expected in our series, but I think the individual players are stronger over in Fnatic's side, and their team play is a bit better, a bit sharper.
Would you agree, Mickey? Do you think it's a fair assessment? How do you feel about their bot lane? Because I mean, we saw, Lucian Nami. I'm the big skeptic of that lane in general. Even when no matter who's playing it, whether it's you guys or them, right? Even if it's doing well, but like when it comes to 2v2,
and if it's doing well, then that's
I'm just curious how you feel about the 2v2 because I really wanted to see you guys play versus Ice and Labrov because I think Labrov had a tough previous week. I think he had a much better week this week up until maybe where he got a little too keen in that game 4. There were a lot of places where he almost won the game and there were a lot of places where he lost the game. But parts of that series, I really loved the Ashe game 1. I think the Nami game 2, he played well. I wanted to see the 2v2. Unsurprisingly, I was denied mostly for the part of the 2v2, so I don't get a good impression, but I'm curious how you think Noah and Jun stack up against Ice and Labrov, just generally.
I think they're kind of similar. I think because we do a lot of 2v2s, mostly with BDS and Fnatic bot lane. And I think...
You just practice just the 2v2?
Yeah. Just 2v2s. Because it's a bit more useful than solo queue.
Yeah.
So I would say both of them are like pretty solid. I think Fnatic bot lane is usually a bit more on the same page, but a lot of times they just kind of throw away their lead or their lane when they're like in a good spot. Like for example, yesterday against Vitality, was it yesterday? 2 days ago?
Whatever. Yeah.
Against Vitality, they're playing Varus, Renata versus Zyrakan, and they died 2v2. I think that should not happen, but somehow it happened. I think Labrov and Ice are more likely to play the matchup out correctly and just wait for when they're actually stronger and not take as many risks. But I think Fnatic bot lane can just like flip it, and usually they're on the same page, and most of the time they will play it well mechanically to try to outplay, but they just don't need to do that, you know. But overall, I would probably give it to Fnatic bot lane. I think when it matters, usually they play out stuff better. So, yeah.
So is the like one strong point that BDS have, and it's obviously the game is never as simple as like looking in isolation. It's an oversimplified way to look at it for sure. But it feels like a lot is on Adam. Adam is the one when you talk about Fnatic mid jungle being strong at the start. We're now talking about Fnatic's bot lane having the edge. So far, Adam is the only player in isolation that has gotten the edge.
I think Ice probably is maybe a bit better. At least like in our games, he was playing quite well. I think Noah didn't have the best series against Vitality, I feel like. So I guess in that sense, I guess Ice would be better. But I think
Ice and Adam versus the world. We're cooking a narrative here.
Yeah.
You gotta understand. We got to give the people something simple to look out for.
Yeah, that's the one. Go for it. No problem.
What was the most surprising part for you? You kind of said you were surprised at how good BDS played against you guys. What was the most surprising part of that? Was it how well they responded to some of the shenanigans you were bringing, or was it like the individual performers?
Well, I don't think they were particularly good at responding to our swaps.
Yeah.
Because I think they could have a way better lead or like an advantage from the swaps, but they kind of didn't really... I feel like they didn't know how to actually abuse it. I guess in the normal game we played, I was surprised by the Lucianami, especially when Nautilus was open.
Yeah.
But then, they got lucky, so...
Yeah.
But I think they played well around
sure.
the Lucianami in like mid-game, where they had a lot of control out mid, and I got punished a lot, or we got punished a lot of times when we were walking at the ramp with no vision. So, yeah, I mean, in that sense, they played quite decent, and I think they were better this time around in mid-game around playing around waves compared to us. I think we were doing the BDS and we were grouping spike and just trying to like force stuff to happen. But yeah.
All right. So, Rob, are you also on the Fnatic prediction train, or are you predicting BDS?
It's so hard coming off the back of that Vitality series because
because it's like,
feels like all confidence
if
is
Humanoid
shot.
shows up and locks Diana 2 games in a row, it's a very different series. Maybe he's worked more on the Diana. Maybe the solo queue win rate goes up. Maybe the comp is a little bit better to support. But like the thing about the BDS series is like, while I expected you guys to win quite handedly, there were still some good moments. Game 2, obviously, I think for Ice as well. Like the fact that they are willing to play the Lucianami, and it doesn't look like a lot of their Callista games looked, or that one Callista game looked in regular season where they were like real good for the first 8 minutes and then threw it away, like mini Callista games for mini teams. I
don't know, because even coming into playoffs, I felt like it was going to be you lads and Fnatic in finals, but BDS feel like they're cooking a little bit, and I just don't know. I think this is like an incredibly close series where
lane swap series is useless. I'm sorry, it's like it is terrible data. Thank you both for this. Thank your coaching staff. Shout out to Dylan and Duff and Rodrigo and everybody else.
And the LPL.
And the LPL and IP.
It means that the team can show off their mid game a bit more because lane phase doesn't matter. So, for example, in the Vitality Fnatic game, they got solo killed 2v2, and then top lane got solo killed. Didn't matter.
Mid game.
Yeah.
It's all about mid game.
And are you going to be scared of them again when they come into finals against you, where you're going to run away to a different lane, or are you going to?
I think so. Yeah. I think I don't want to lane.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rob, we got? They're both on the Fnatic train. I need to know BDS or Fnatic for you.
I'm going to just be spicy and say BDS on the opposite side. Because
How close is it? Maybe is the better.
I think
question.
it's like a 52-48. Like
That's
this is
really close.
incredibly close.
Give me a percentage again.
How did you give it
Approximation.
50?
You're gonna do 50. You're actually do 50-50.
Yeah,
It makes sense, right?
You either
One team will
win.
win.
yeah, true. Yeah.
Like, I actually think it will depend on who wins. Like, I think if BDS wins the game convincingly, like if it's a stomp, then I think they will win, because I do think Fnatic is a bit emotional
Yeah.
as a team. So in a best of series, it's like also like in the past, like we had this when we were in Malmö, we were pretty emotional. that series, I do think that is important, and I think BDS probably they look more stable than Fnatic does. So I think first game will matter. I think if Fnatic wins the first game, Fnatic will win almost guaranteed. But I think if they get stumped first game, there's a high chance BDS can take the series.
All right. So first game momentum for the series, kind of a situation.
Yeah, but it will always depend. It's always like
I'm
it will
sure
depend who has a bad game.
Yeah.
For example, I think if Fnatic bot lane has a bad game, it scales very hard because, yeah, I just think they are a bit more like there's confidence players, right? And I do think that they are that type of players from the outside perspective. Obviously, I don't know, and
Sure.
that's how it looks like to me. So I will give BDS that. If they stomp first game, they might take it all. But if they don't, they might not.
You like that? That's good. That's concrete. Love those predictions.
Yeah, I think
All right.
I really like the Lucian Nami. I was genuinely like impressed, as you say, impressed at how they played around the mid game. So I could see them going for something strong bot lane game one like that, being able to carry it through, and then Fnatic fall apart. So I think it is a very, very close one.
I feel like I don't know. I don't trust. I feel like both these teams sometimes just like cook in a way that is really reckless. That's how I would describe it. Fnatic, you could say it's the Diana, but I also just think like their bot lane is so good when they just get what they're comfortable on, and they're still like trying to mix it up sometimes in a way. And like I get it, you're trying to get an edge in draft, and maybe Scrim showed it that week, but even BDS, there's going to be a game where BDS lock in Lucian Nami, and we're thinking it's going to be the exact same thing, and then they're going to die twice, and it's all going to fall apart, right? Like I don't actually have faith in either of these bot lanes to play it out 100% clean. I do agree that Ice is very strong, but I don't know, man. I actually have zero idea. I'm going to say Fnatic because their fans tweet at me more.
Okay.
that's my. I don't have. I'm a 50-50 boy. I didn't want to be a 50-50 boy because now I can't roast Mickey for being a 50-50 boy. But screw it. It's the safe.
Speaking of bot lanes, we have no. Well, you have no. What's the word I'm looking for?
No love for?
Love for. Why do you think Thresh is good in the meta since you
No,
at
don't.
times when you
Oh,
played it? Yeah,
Exactly. We get 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes on this tangent.
That's why
We've
it's
already
really
got
low.
lost in enough other tangents. What is your thoughts on Thresh?
But Thresh is actually fine because Thresh depends on jungle champs and AD carry champs. And the jungle champs are Volibear, Jarvan, tanks basically. And AD carry champs are Jinx, Aphelios, long range stuff. So that's why Thresh actually fits in the meta. And he doesn't have many counters. So
What does Thresh do when he falls behind Mickey?
he plays Lantern. You think Lantern is a weak spell, Drakos?
No, I think Lantern's a great spell. I just think that, like, I don't know, Nautilus Assault seems like a pretty good spell. Nautilus Hook seems like a much more hittable spell.
And that's
What
why
does
I love
Nautilus
it.
do when he falls behind?
He hooks in and dies. We saw Mickey do it this last weekend. Come on. You know exactly what he does. Mickey shows us every week.
Fair.
Sometimes it's still impactful. That's all I'm saying. Okay, all right. I see it, Lantern bot.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make this the Dino Drakos bot lane champion pool personal vendetta episode. So I'm going to move us along. Two things I want to talk about before we kind of wrap up for this episode are a little bit about lane swaps and kind of like this process. I know you guys both hit it in your post-game interviews as well as in PGL, but just kind of recapping for some of the people at home. And also a little bit about MSI because it's right around the corner. And a lot of teams have already locked, you obviously amongst them. But first, lane swaps this weekend versus BDS. You guys put that together super, super quickly. I think, a testament to your staff, as you've both kind of already highlighted in interviews. But is this something that you brought out expecting it to be kind of a one-time thing for these last 2 weeks? Is this something that you expect to continue through to MSI that's always just going to be in your back pocket as like a viable strategy? Do you use this against Korean and Chinese teams?
Yes, when I'm gonna be too scared to lane 2v2, I'm gonna ask BB to go lane instead and get dove, and I'll be laning into top laner.
Exactly.
And vice versa, when we're racing very strong top laners, BB will be like, no, I can't lane, so I'll go top instead.
why do you run away in fear instead of just? Because I know you know Carrier. Where are my R5 stupid support counter picks to win the lane? What happened to that? Why are we in lane swap? Why are we in the run away? Where's my
allowed.
Caitlyn support?
I'm not
bro?
allowed.
You're not allowed. Okay.
I'm
But
banned.
like in a perfect world, do you think that like just the lane swap is just the better choice? It's just safer. It's just more reliable.
You're just like, yeah. I mean, then it becomes more of a team game instead of just like taking losing matchups where you know you're gonna probably be behind like 2 plates, probably CS, maybe get off, compared to maybe being like 1 or 2 plates behind, but at least you're like even in CS, you get XP. Enemy top laner also gets behind. So I was just like, yeah.
How much of your success this weekend do you think was that BDS maybe weren't ready for the lane swap? Like, let's say BDS had really prepped the lane swap. You already mentioned that they might have fumbled, snowballing the lead. Like, do you guys think that you really executed it to perfection this weekend, or do you think that some amount of your success is just the fact that people were caught off guard by this strategy?
I mean, I think it's obviously that people don't know. I mean, that's also why it worked quite well, and they were not ready, right? I'm sure if they had like when we played it in practice, and teams knew then like were I going to do it, then it becomes like a meta game, you know?
Yeah,
It's like, oh, what are we gonna do now? You know, or what are they gonna do now? And then we have to obviously react to that. And it did basically happen as well on stage. We did it multiple times. It wasn't the first time. And
Yeah.
we were trying to do other stuff, but we also every single time, if you look at the games, we're doing different stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And it will be that every single time, and you will see a different version of the lane swap every single time. Once people know, that is just a given. It's not a secret strat. They knew it was coming the first game.
Yeah, I mean, the second you lock in Sion Jinx, right? Everyone's going to be ready for it.
They were gambling really hard that game. If you didn't swap and Ashe Varus is not in lane at 130, they took a very big gamble. It worked out for them. And then we're like, okay, fine. Third game, we did it again. And now what they did is they warded everywhere in our topside jungle. But we were kind of thinking, oh, they are going to do that. So we sent Jinx already on top lane, low 1. So they didn't know where Jinx was. And then
they messed up the ward.
Yeah, they messed up the ward. I walked over the ward, walked past it, faked some information. And then we did it, the lane swap again. And that game was a very hard stomp because we meta game better than them. And that used to be the game we played when lane swaps were a thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because every game was also different. And if you mess up once, it's very punishing. And if you don't know how to respond, it's very punishing. So I believe that we in G2 we play very well, like the pushing the waves game as well. Like I do think our understanding of the game is better than other teams in Europe. So we know which ways are good to push, which ways we have to base on when getting tempo is good. Obviously, we're not perfect at it, but I would assume that we are better than the other teams. So being able to play a different game, but also playing it better, because once you see how big of a lead you can get, you can really see how much smarter a team plays instead of how much better individually someone plays. Yeah. So I think that was the most interesting part in those games.
Were you guys like, so you learned this very quickly. When you're actually playing this in game and when it comes to these level 1 decisions and you kind of know where their vision is and there's a certain amount of like poker-esque, like bluffing, maybe they swap, maybe they don't, depending on how much information you have, like what is the actual communication like in those moments? Does everyone know their role? Is everyone like, are you guys figuring alternative plans out on the fly? Or is it really clear to you that there's like a flow chart? If they go here, we go here. Is everyone kind of on the same page? Is it more of a conversation? Because it seems to me the way you're describing it, there's a lot of stuff that can change really quickly, especially in like the first 2 minutes of the game, maybe even every time you back and change lane assignments. So what is this something that you guys know so well already that you don't really need to talk about it? Or is it something that every time you're backing, you're talking about where you're going to go and everyone's on the same page? Like talk me through the communication in this game, because it sounds chaotic from the outside.
Usually we have like a general idea of what might happen. So we have countermeasures prepared for that.
Sure.
But it also depends how enemy team plays it, and then we have to adapt on the spot. So, like for example, in the game that they actually late invaded, we called that they can late invade top, and then when they did, like that's why we sent Jinx our top already. But then they messed up with the ward, So then we adapted it and had a conversation about, oh yeah, maybe you should BB shows in this ward, and then I can walk around because it's out of vision. And then for the waves, it just like depends what they do as well. Like I think that game as well, Aatrox was on the wave, so then I went to chase them around. I think we chased them around the map and forced his flash. That was kind of funny.
But it sounds like, I mean, obviously what the enemy team is going to factor
But you just have to
into
adapt a lot, basically.
Yeah, and is it just everyone kind of calling it out as they see it, or is there a strong foundation where it's like you know what your goals are and you're just doing whatever you can to get to that point, regardless of what they do?
We have like a bigger goal in mind, but just like I guess specific wave timings and base timings, we have to adapt or like talk about it on the fly depending on what enemy team is doing, basically.
Cool. I'm
It's
absolutely going to try to get your voice comms. I will see if your team management allows me. I don't know the process for me getting your voice comms, but I'm really curious to hear like actually what it is that you're talking about in the moment, because it sounds, most League of Legends early games are so static, right? Like there's little things, there's roams, the jungler gets to play a lot, support gets to play a lot, but like you're living in your little top lane universe doing your little wave control thing. Caps is in the mid lane doing his wave. Like, it's like mostly everyone's pretty fixed. So this is like the most dynamic, even if for the outsider and even as a spectator, it sometimes looks boring. It's so interesting to like think about the sheer amount of small choices that everyone on your team is making in a lane swap game that normally like it would just be maybe jungle and support.
And it's good if any team has a language barrier as well.
I mean, that's actually that's so smart. Oh my god, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Holy shit! It actually just
We thought about everything.
That's actually so ruthless. Oh my god.
I mean, the funny thing is also like I finally get to speak to my bot lane before 10 minutes.
Usually we don't talk.
Usually
We're not on speaking terms.
Usually I never talk to my bot lane before 10 minutes. It's like I just have nothing to say. Like after 10 minutes, oh, they have TP advantage, guys. And that is often not even heard.
It's not called.
Yeah, I mean now it's very interesting. Oh, Hans, can you base bot lane? I was like, oh. And then me and Mickey are like fighting the Aatrox, the low one. It's like really funny to play.
He's finding some people. We're going on a mission.
One of the big things, like you guys are obviously the final boss. In terms of results, you've had a solid split and are on the road to winning another. We'll see how the finals unfold. But like, how do you guys actually look at this split's performance? Obviously, it's better than last spring, but you're trying new stuff. You're bringing out new things. I think for a lot of people, it still looks kind of up and down in a lot of cases. Some rougher early games, some easier ones. Like, how do you guys actually feel when you look back on spring split? Do you feel like the up and down performances is normal and fine? Do you feel like you guys are in rough shape, good shape? I think as we get closer and closer to MSI, we kind of have to talk about the international problem. Domestically, clearly you guys have it mostly figured out, but I think as we get closer and closer to international, my heart and the hearts of every fan that watched you lose to NRG starts to get a little bit curious if we should be nervous. So like, how do you guys feel?
Energy didn't make it. So.
Yeah, hell yeah, you're safe. You're going to yap that, boys. You got to be ready. I need to know that you're ready. Like, how do you feel about the overall level of the team? How do you feel about the split?
I mean, it's definitely much better than last spring.
Sure.
Because obviously we made it further already. We do want to win. The start of the split wasn't like we obviously wanted to finish first. We didn't. And that was because we actually let some silly games drop, right? Like, I think the Fnatic game was like a very sad to lose. We got like really stomped. And then the Rogue game. That was very sad as well.
And the Vitality game. There's a lot of, yeah.
Pretty sad.
Yeah,
pretty sad.
They were pretty silly losses. But I do think they are nice reminders that we can still lose to teams, and we need to give 100% still. And that was the reason why we lost last spring. Because we took it for granted, I think, winning. And now we are always reminded, like even our staff, like Romain is always saying, remember what happened last spring when we don't play enough solo queue or when we...
Damn.
Yeah.
Does it haunt you guys that much?
I mean, not necessarily, but it's something that we... Like, it hit us back in the day, right? It's like we lost spring split when we thought we were, like, by far the best back then. Like, we did even show it, right? Like, we beat Mad Lions in MSI pretty convincingly. The Cassiopeia top lane thing, oh, man. But
with the ting.
yeah, but I'm excited for international tournament. I always think it's exciting. I think that's where you want to learn the most because you just play against the best of the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's always very interesting to see where you are You never know until you actually play those. I always see a lot of people saying, "Oh, EU is cooked this year," like, "Oh, we can't win" and stuff. But honestly, the last year we were in the international tournament. It didn't feel like they were so far away, even if in the end it didn't show, right? Because we got eliminated, we lost the energy and stuff. But in practice, I know we were not that far away, and I will always have that in my head. Obviously, people in the outside never see those games.
But they do see screenshots of your scrim results.
I do have to say that the year before that, we did win a lot with, like, we did explode a lot of games when we had, like, a lot of, like, the Ravens, like the Handsama Draven. And I have to say our bot lane was doing very well, and those games exploded very fast. Mm-hmm. So when we won a lot of games, it was in the first year we played together. That was when, we just scrim, and then the game is over in 10 minutes because the enemy teams FF, like the Asian teams usually FF quite fast when the game is just like
when it's
exploded.
done.
So we didn't learn as much from that. But what do you think, Mickey?
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the games ended quite early, and usually even without the Kalista Draven picks, I think those games were still like pretty decent. I think the only teams that were like we were struggling against were like T1 and Genji. I think those teams were like better than us, like you can see it. But I think the LPL teams, usually they also like grief and scrims a little bit. But at least it didn't feel like we can't match them in terms of just like mechanics or team fighting, because that's usually what scrims come down to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think the problem last year was that we actually didn't know what to do mid-game. We were just actually lost. We're not very efficient with what we're doing. But I feel like this year we have a way better understanding of the game. So now that we have good like fundamentals as well, I think it's gonna be way easier to actually win games against the better teams as well, instead of just like hoping that we snowball early game and then just make them FF in 5 minutes, like but on stage. So yeah, I think it should be better.
What do those learnings look like? Is it it's a mentality shift of, when we get this thing, we can play more aggressive on this or on this wave or at this time or whatever it is? Or is it we are getting punished on we're not setting up things correctly, or we're not, getting vision down in this area and they constantly punish that? Like, is it a mentality shift, or is it individual small things that they do that make the difference?
I would say it's a mentality shift, because like after we lost Worlds, Mickey had a talk with Duff about like the stage games we had, right? And we were looking at, we were missing so many opportunities to get advantages, whereas in like it's literally, so basically the waves in League of Legends, they're always there every single game, and if you don't use that, you're gonna fall behind. And I think like the Asian teams just use the waves much better, especially Genji. Genji is a team that played very controlled last year, and they would always fight when their waves were good. And then even if you win the fight, their waves are still good. We're still gonna miss creeps, right? And I think that after looking back, it was very true that we didn't win games because we're good as a team. We won games because either the game very hard exploded or we outplayed them mechanically. Whereas in this year, like even in the beginning of the year, people were like, G2's early game is looking shaky. What happened? And it's probably because we also put our focus more on not exploding the game early game, but also like playing the game in mid game. And then at some point, people were like, G2 macro is insane, And I don't think we are like crazy good at it yet. I still think we are getting much better at it day by day, week by week. And it also feels much more rewarding winning games like that, because you are smarter, like, I push this way first and then I go fight. And now you have to TP under the fight, and I still have my TP for the next play then. Whereas in like, I think the BDS series, we actually did very poorly on that. And I think BDS actually did very well in terms of pushing out the right waves. They were matching waves when they had Nashor. And those things is a staple of, your core team. Like, you will always have that in the game. Whereas in mechanics, you can outplay. You can fail a flash. Everyone fails a flash from some point, at some point, or like...
Or a hook.
Or a hook, yeah. or a hook. but
My bad.
but the waves are always there. There will always be waves to push, and if you push the right waves, you will have advantages.
Sure.
Even if you're mechanically worse than the enemy, you know.
Okay, I don't like the way that you've structured this because it feels like you're setting yourself up to be mechanically worse. But no, I know that's not your intention.
But also, I said
the
there's
thing I'll
more
say
mentality
is,
switch, but isn't like there's more game knowledge and individual. Like if we play around, we just play better. around
Maybe.
waves.
well, here's my
But it's
question.
also a mentality switch.
Does
Of
it-
like because sorry,
It's
I will cut you off. I will cut you off.
All right.
But
Excuse
we
me,
had
sir.
an ongoing thing in G2 where we would permafight every single scrim, and I was like, guys, we're not learning anything if you just permafight. So let's push the waves first. So that's also a mentality switch.
I guess a little bit
I'm
of both.
not.
A
I'm
little
not.
bit of balance.
Okay,
A little
hold on,
bit.
boys, please.
Yeah, your turn.
Let me get him on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand. Is it so? There's certainly a mentality switch happening here, a certain amount. But was
I
also
didn't say
was
it.
this
I didn't
just?
say it.
Did this feel like just new knowledge that was unlocked to you, thinking about waves this way? Because it sounds to me like not like you can't fight or couldn't fight before, and not like you don't fight now. It just sounds like you just didn't think about mid game at this level of depth. Like, were some of these concepts here and you just maybe didn't fully understand them? Or is it like that you guys brought in Duff and you started to talk about this stuff and it was stuff that you had never thought about or considered? Was it stuff that you hadn't focused on? I'm trying to understand how much of a revelation this was.
I
for
think it was a
G2
big
behind the
revelation
scenes.
because we didn't actually talk about any of this throughout the whole of last year until Dove joined. I think there was only one point where we discussed more like doing stuff with midwaves. I think that was during MSI. We learned something like that, but we didn't. I mean, so yeah, it was kind of a revelation, I guess, about how we should actually play the game and not just permafight.
But I think that when Duffman came in, he made this conscious to
Yeah.
everyone. And since then, we have been using it. And the good thing about Duff is like he really, when we have a scrim day and he sees something, the next day he has a presentation ready. He's like, guys, this is what we could have done. This is like, look at this. What do you guys think about this? He doesn't always say, oh, we have to do this. Sometimes he even says, oh, look at this. What do you guys think about this? Can we use this somehow? And I think having a person who looks at these things and is like, makes us think about something is very valuable. Like ever since Duff came in, I feel like we have been thinking about the game more in terms of concepts, you know?
Sure.
And I think that's just very valuable.
Yeah, it just sounds like you guys are getting checked a lot more. Like, obviously, the mid-game concept, it sounds like he brought in and kind of pioneered for you guys and has shown you these things. But now it sounds like he just continues to check you. Hey, why do we do this? Why are they doing that? Why are we doing this? And it's just making you maybe self-evaluate more than you had to, which isn't surprising if you tell me all of last year you won in 5 minutes. There's not a lot to evaluate. Hey, my Draven's pretty sick, bro. Like, that's not like, which, mechanics I think are still important. But it wouldn't surprise me if part of the reason why this feels so gratifying is that it's new, right? Like, you guys have been good mechanical players and especially in your region, even at times internationally compared to your opponents, and you've dominated that way. But like, when have you been the smart guys in recent years, right? When have you been the guys that have knowingly outthought your opponents in a way where you understood? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just like how I'd imagine it. I always feel like whenever you're learning something new, it's really, really gratifying because you can clearly see the improvement. But I imagine for you guys at this point, laning and mechanics is so every day that there's just kind of peaks and troughs in terms of interest and passion and kind of focus on those things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks for the insight into the
I
team.
mean, I have to say, like, ever like this year, it's not only like the team play perspective. I do want to give a shout out to EUphoria, who has been working with me throughout the splits to help my laning phase. Yeah,
the return of EUphoria.
He has been a very, very. I am very surprised of how smooth it has been working with him. It feels like he has been doing this for years, which he didn't, right? He's been very professional about like a lot of stuff. And it's very great to have someone else who has insights about top lane matchups. You know, like I always get to 1v1 him whenever I have to. And yeah, not only from a team perspective, learning something new, but also from a laning phase perspective, having someone else who like, you know, has a different perspective how to lane, and like you get ideas, you talk about matchups, you know, like you do learn a lot from it. And I do think it's fair to say that my laning phase has improved if you look at this year compared to last year, because last year I do think that it was one of my weakest years of actually playing the game, and I do have to reflect myself on that. That is also why I thought it was valuable to have someone else to look at my games and like my laning phase, you know. Yeah, I'm very grateful that I have him to work with me.
I don't want to get overhyped here, but it sounds like the pieces are coming together, boys. I don't want to, like, we're still domestic for a second, but if I shift over to my MSI caster brain, I'm like, am I allowed to be excited now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very exciting for, MSI.
Yeah.
But first, we have
First, finals.
unfinished job.
Your unfinished business. We'll see who faces you, BDS or Fnatic. Really quick, LCK, LPL. I don't know how much you guys have been watching. LPL is still like kind of 2 weeks out, but LCK is basically playing their finals the same time we are. Predictions. Genji's already locked in the LCK for second seed since they're waiting in the finals. They're going to play Hanwha Life or T1.
Yeah.
What are your guys'? Give me the who's facing Genji in the finals. Who do you predict to win it? Doesn't have to be super in depth. We don't have the time, and also I'm not going to make you get roasted by random Korean fans.
Yeah, it's a T1 Genji, and Genji takes it.
Yeah.
No joke. T1 takes it.
Wait, no, Joe. What?
T1 takes it. I changed my mind.
I'll say Genji takes it.
Oh, okay, nice. Good coverage, guys. Good coverage. Rob, any strong opinions on the?
Genji looks sick. I think it'll be Genji.
Yeah,
Very, very strong.
I love T1, but I'm a Genji. It's something about Genji just.
Yeah.
They're like the domestic winners.
Yeah,
They usually win those.
Yeah,
Like
go international. Maybe I'll feel a little bit different.
Yeah,
but I just
same.
feel like I feel like I got faith in Genji as long as they're within the South Korean shoreline. I feel like they're goated, unstoppable. Other side of it is LPL. It's a little bit more complicated because I think NIP and JDG are playing right now as we're recording this podcast, and then BLG and TES are sitting at the top. So, but is there any like favorites that you have looking at the LPL? I assume that you guys want NIP to go, given that you've stolen their strategies. Maybe you don't want them to go.
Nah.
I don't know. Who do you guys expect to
gonna
make
be
it from the
our
LPL? I don't need finals predictions. The bracket's a little bit
I
too
would
big
like
right now.
BLG and who?
I would like BLG to win as well. Bin as my boy. Had a little content with him in was it Worlds? Was it MSI? And I was how do you call this game when you
Arm wrestling.
Arm
arm
wrestling?
wrestling? And he like stomped me, so I have to get a rematch on that one.
He doesn't know you've been playing sports ball, Spikeball.
He's been shadow boxing all of his life.
So I hope he makes it, and we can make a little content with him.
Yeah, and BLG I think also look quite strong in their games, so I think they might just actually win everything. Yeah.
Nice. Any who's getting second seed? TES, NIP, JDG, which again, by tomorrow, one of those teams won't exist. So this is the disadvantage doing this on Wednesday.
JDG.
Sure.
JG.
Top
like
actually.
Top look
All right,
good.
loose predictions there for the LEC fans looking to tune in. We've got semifinals for LPL this week or today in the case of this round 4 bracket between NIP and JDG, and we've also got LCK finals before our finals weekend this weekend. We made predictions for all the leagues. You guys are ready for MSI. Any final words for Fnatic or BDS? Do you guys want to like hype them up or tear them down? You know how LCK does those trash talk interviews? You got anything spicy you want to say?
Get him.
Come
Get
on,
him, PR
where my
guy.
spice at? Let me clip this out and use this to make this people think this entire episode is about you just attacking people, BB.
Fnatic and BDS.
Yeah, to either. You can say to either
No,
team, to both
I'm
teams.
right
He's
now
addressing
talking to
both.
them.
Can you please?
Will you let me finish?
I'm sorry.
Will you let me finish?
I'm right, my bad.
Should I look at the camera? Maybe instead.
Yeah.
This is more
Straight down the
threatening.
barrel, that one right there.
All right, Fnatic and BDS. Good luck. You will need it.
Oh my god.
Oh God! They're shaking in their boots and/or Crocs. I don't know what they wear on stage.
All right, Mickey, you're next.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
No, you got
Mickey,
this, bro.
I
You've
need
watched
you- I need
so
you to-
much anime. There is no way you can't just say some wacky
Say
shit
something-
off the
say
dome.
something
He
to,
only knows how to
say
say it in
something to,
Japanese, though.
yeah,
you
So
can
can
say
say it in English.
Say something to say something to the bot lanes.
Yeah, say some of those bot lanes, Mickey. Look right down that camera.
All right, so I hope you are prepared to lane against my top laner. Best of luck against him. Hope you can dive him and make his KD look really bad. Meanwhile, I'll be diving your top laner, and I hope we both have a great game. And that's it. Too.
That was weak.
That was weak, but I like that you acknowledge that you're just not going to lane against it. I'm not going to see you. We're not going to play in the same
Nah.
game. Meet you at 15 minutes. You
Yeah.
know, we'll talk then. Regardless, boys, thanks for coming on. Good luck this weekend. While you are the favorites, I hope for a super competitive semifinal and final. We didn't do predictions. I think because G2 are the clear favorites, right? G2 are the clear favorites. We'll look how good BDS and Fnatic does. We'll make final predictions on the day. We'll probably be there to cast. So, regardless, thank you guys for coming on.
What if you want to do predictions?
Do you want to? Yeah, do you predict?
No, I don't.
We don't. Of course.
Go ahead.
No, you
right.
get please.
No, you didn't ask me, so now
of
I
course.
don't want to do
What are you
it.
gonna say?
No, I don't want to do now.
Okay. What are you possibly gonna?
But I will say 3-1 BDS.
in the final.
3-1 Fnatic.
You just said 3-1 BDS. You said BDS are gonna lose to Fnatic,
Yeah. I can change my mind.
and now they're gonna beat Fnatic and then beat you in the finals.
I did say that if BDS stomps first
Game
game,
one.
Yeah. He said, okay, you gave him the win, but you did.
yes. So I did kind of have an option for both. So I'm gonna go with
either way is
BDS 3-1. BDS 3-1. I can also say Fnatic 3-1.
The team who destroys the Nexus will win the game.
No. If BDS stomps first game, I think they will win.
Okay.
If they do not,
Okay.
then Fnatic will win.
Got
That
it.
is my
Okay,
that is my
that's-
prediction.
That is your prediction.
You can quote me on Twitter or whatever you want.
Okay.
If it happens,
If it
I
happens.
was right.
Breaking news: BB says one of these teams will win the
Breaking
series.
news. Under certain circumstances, one of these teams can beat the other team.
If BDS stomps first game, they are gonna win.
Yeah, I call that additional context. It's really strong prediction there.
What is a stump?
No, stop. Okay, that's it. That's the episode.
Okay, we can go in depth, but
No, we're ending there. Thank you both for coming in. Congrats again on making it to the finals and to MSI. We'll see if you guys can get first seed. Find that all out this weekend. Saturday and Sunday, LCK finals are also happening. LPL stuff is happening. There's a ton of fantastic League of Legends this week. Be sure to check it out. This is the last episode for the season, but thanks everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you in summer and probably also a little bit at MSI in some form or another.